The restaurant door closes, trapping the warm air inside. Chan finds himself on the cold street. He adjusts his gloves and glances at his car, waiting a few meters away. Just then, someone quickly passes by. It's a girl. Dark coat, dark hood. She walks so quickly that her sleeve brushes against it and leaves a trail behind her. Not a sound, but a scent. It cuts into the frosty air. At first, a sharp green, like a broken branch or wet grass after rain, clean and cold, but immediately, before you can recover, a wave of warmth arrives, deep, thick, slightly sweet, like old wood in a library. These two scents shouldn't go together, but they create a whole, something unfamiliar and haunting. Chan freezes. His foot freezes in midair, halfway to the next step. He stops breathing for a second. Everything around him, the noise of the cars, the lights, the people, dissolves. Only this scent exists. It fills everything. He stands and listens. His mind, always preoccupied with business and calculations, goes blank. He simply absorbs this aroma. He tries to understand it, to dismantle it, but he can't. He only feels it, and this feeling is stronger than any thought. The scent begins to dissipate. A cold wind tears it to shreds. Zhang takes a short, greedy breath, trying to hold on to the last particles. They disappear. Only emptiness remains, and this emptiness causes a strange physical pain somewhere in his chest. The girl is almost at the corner. Another moment and she'll turn. The click inside him sounds loud and clear. This isn't a decision. It's an order given to himself. The smell must not go away. His body turns of its own accord. He forgets about the car, the driver. His legs carry him forward. His steps are long, quick, firm. He doesn't walk. He pursues. His gaze is glued to her back. She is the only dot in a blurry world. He picks up speed. His long legs easily close the distance. 10 meters. 5. He can almost hear the sound of her footsteps in the snow. His hand reaches forward of its own accord. Leah walks quickly. In fact, she's practically running. She's in a hurry. The evening with her friend dragged on, and she has to get up early tomorrow. She's wrapped in her coat, but the cold still creeps under the fabric. She thinks about a warm apartment, a cup of tea, a soft sofa. She thinks about the report she has to hand in tomorrow. Ordinary thoughts on an ordinary evening. She doesn't notice the man at the entrance to the restaurant. She walks past, lost in her plans. She doesn't smell her perfume. She's used to it. She doesn't know what it smells like in the cold. Leah just wants to go home. She reaches an intersection and stops. Her car is in the shop, so she needs to hail a taxi. She raises her hand and waves. She's lucky. Almost immediately, the yellow light comes on. The car changes lanes and pulls over to the curb. She doesn't look back. Why? The street is full of people. She opens the door and gets in. The inside smells of air freshener and old seat. She gives the address. "Let's go, please. Quickly," she says to the driver. The car starts moving and merges with the traffic. Leah leans back in the seat and finally relaxes. She pulls out her phone to text her friend that she's reached the taxi. She has no idea that someone is stalking her scent, like a hunter stalks prey. For her, this evening is no different from any other. Chan sees her hand fly into the air. He sees a yellow light. He feels his insides tighten. No. He makes one last dash, almost running, but it's too late. The taxi door slams shut right in front of him. He sees only her profile behind the tinted glass. She's looking at her phone. She doesn't even suspect it exists. The car drives away. It picks up speed. Chan stands at the edge of the sidewalk, helpless. He watches the red taillights fade into the stream of cars. He lets one taxi pass, then another. His yellow taxi is almost invisible. The emptiness inside him screams. It's louder than the horns, louder than the wind. He's missed her. He's missed that scent. He stands and stares at the spot where she disappeared. His fingers clench in his pockets. His breathing is uneven. He loses sight of her. The yellow dot dissolves into the night. He's left alone on the cold sidewalk, with the memory of the scent that turned his world upside down in a matter of seconds. He doesn't yet know what he'll do next. He only feels loss, acute and inexplicable. Chan stands on the sidewalk. He looks where the yellow taxi just disappeared. It's empty inside, but this emptiness is quickly filled with one feeling: desire. He needs to catch up with this car. It's not even a thought. It's a fact. Simple and clear. He turns sharply. His legs quickly carry him back. He practically runs to his car. The driver sits behind the wheel, looking ahead. Chan grabs the handle of the back door, opens it sharply, and gets in. The door slams shut. The interior is quiet and warm. "Go ahead," says Chan. His voice is quiet but firm. The driver turns around. He sees the boss's face. It's stony. But something unfamiliar glimmers in his eyes. Usually, Chan's gaze is calm and calculating. Now it's tense and sharp. "Where are we going?" the driver asks cautiously. Chan looks out the windshield. There are a lot of cars on the road. There is no yellow taxi among them. "Just move forward," Chan says. "Quickly, look for the yellow taxi." It just left this intersection. The driver doesn't ask any more questions. He turns on the turn signal and pulls out onto the road. The car accelerates smoothly. Chan leans back in his seat. He's not wearing a seatbelt. His fingers drum on his knee. He looks out the window. He's looking for yellow. Only yellow. Nothing else matters right now. He needs to smell that scent again. He'll do anything for it. The car pulls out onto a wide street. There are a lot of cars here. Everyone is moving slowly. There is snow on the road. It has turned into slush. The tires crunch in the wet snow. Chan looks ahead. He scans all the lanes. Left, right, ahead. Nothing. Just ordinary cars of different colors. Disappointment rises in his throat. He could have lost her. Turn left at the next intersection, he tells the driver. His voice is still even, but there's a hint of tension in it. She could have turned there. The car changes into the left lane and turns. This street is narrower and darker. There are fewer cars here. Chan peers into the distance. His eyes squint. All he sees are red taillights. They drive 2 blocks, then another. No yellow taxi. Chan feels his stomach clench. This is a failure. He's missed his chance. He's almost ready to tell the driver to go home. Almost. But he stops himself. No, he can't just give up like that. Turn right, he says. We'll go a little further. The car turns right. This street leads to a bridge. The number of cars dwindles even more. And just when Chan is about to lose hope, he sees it. Far ahead, almost at the very entrance to the bridge, a flash of yellow appears. It's not just yellow. It's the color of a taxi. Chan sits up straighter in his seat. His body tenses. Over there! His voice is sharp. He extends his hand and points ahead. A yellow taxi. See it? The driver looks closely. I see. He nods. A yellow car is driving in the middle lane. It's not in a hurry. It's simply floating with the traffic. The distance to it is about 300 meters. Chan can't take his eyes off her. It's definitely that car. He can feel it. His heart starts beating faster. Not from excitement, but from focus. Now he has a goal. Now he knows what to do. Catch up, he tells the driver. Carefully, but catch up. Don't lose her. Chan's car accelerates smoothly. It overtakes one car, then another. The distance begins to close. 200 meters, 150. Chan stares at the yellow rectangle of the taxi. He can barely breathe. He imagines that smell again. Cool greenery and warm wood. He can almost smell it again. He has to drive closer. He has to be there when she gets out. The taxi begins to pull off the bridge. Chan doesn't take his eyes off it. Follow him, he says. His voice is now more confident. The chase has begun in earnest. Taxi driver Kim glances in the rearview mirror. He's been noticing the black car for a while now. It's a powerful, expensive car. It's rare to see cars like that following behind a taxi. At first, Kim doesn't pay any attention to it. The car simply continues on in the same direction. It happens. They pass the first turn. The black car follows. Kim changes lanes. The black car changes lanes too. Kim starts watching him more closely. He notices the car has tinted windows. It's impossible to see who's inside. He takes the second turn, then the third. Each time, the same black silhouette appears in the mirror. By the fourth turn, Kim has no doubts. This isn't a coincidence. The distance between them is always the same. The black car neither advances nor falls behind. It simply follows them, methodically and persistently. Kim frowns. He's been a driver for 15 years. He's seen it all, but this is the first time something like this has happened. A rich man in an expensive car is following an ordinary taxi. This doesn't fit any pattern. He has no important passengers in the car. Just a young woman rushing home. He takes another look in the mirror. The black car is there again. It follows his maneuver like a shadow. Kim decides not to remain silent. He doesn't want to scare the passenger, but he has to warn her. He leans closer to the mirror and speaks calmly but clearly. Young lady, I think we're being followed. See that black car behind us? It's been following us for 5 turns in a row. Silence descends on the car. The only sounds are the engine and the tires crunching on the snow. Leah freezes. She slowly turns her head and glances in the side mirror. She sees the car. It's big, dark, and very close. It looks alien and threatening. Tension hangs in the air, thick and heavy. Leah feels her heart begin to beat faster. Are you sure? She asks, her voice quieter than usual. Maybe he's just heading in the same direction. Kim shakes his head, keeping his eyes on the road. I've already tried changing lanes and speed. He's mirroring every move. He's following us. I'm sure of it. Leah looks in the mirror again. Now she sees it for herself. The black car is their exact replica on the road. It mirrors their every step. The anxiety turns to cold, clear fear. Leah leans back in her seat, her thoughts racing. She tries to figure out what's going on. Who could be following her? She quickly runs through all the possibilities in her head. She has no enemies. She works as a graphic designer in a small studio. Her work involves no risks or secrets. She has never borrowed money. She has never quarreled with with her neighbors. She has never been involved in any strange activities. Her life is quiet and measured. Every morning begins with coffee. Every evening ends with a book or a TV series. She has a few close friends, a mother in another city, and colleagues with whom she communicates well. None of them are capable of such a thing. She looks in the mirror again. The black car is still there. It hasn't disappeared. It doesn't lag behind. Maybe it's a mistake? Maybe they got the wrong car. But taxis are yellow. They're unmistakable. Maybe this is for the driver? She looks at Kimin. He looks calm and ordinary. He doesn't seem like the kind of person who would be chased on the road. She finds no answers, only questions. And with each question, the fear grows stronger. She's trapped in a moving car, with a stranger in a black car following her, and she has no idea why. The taxi driver's words hang in the air. Leah glances in the mirror again. The black car seems even closer. She feels goosebumps run down her spine. Her palms become clammy. She doesn't know what to do. The only thing that comes to mind is to run. Faster. Further. She leans toward the partition separating her from the driver. Her voice is quiet and breaks. "Please," she says. "Don't stop. Whatever happens, don't stop. I'll pay double for the ride. Triple. Just get away from him, please," she begs. She's never begged anyone like this. Her fingers dig into the skin of her knees. She looks at Keen with wide eyes. There's one question in them. "Will you help?" Kim hears the fear in her voice. He nods without looking at her. His face becomes focused. He glances in the mirror again at the black car. Then his gaze shifts to the road. He assesses the situation. A long straightaway lies ahead, followed by a sharp left turn. The road is covered in dense snow. The snow on top has already melted and turned into a dangerous slush. Normally, he would slow down, but this is not a normal situation. "Hold on," he says shortly to Leah. He presses the gas pedal. The taxi's engine roars. The car jerks into action. Leah is thrown back into the seat. She grabs the door handle. They approach the turn at high speed. Kim's grip tightens on the steering wheel. He turns it carefully but confidently. The rear of the car momentarily loses traction. Leah hears the tires slide on the wet snow, making a short squeal. Her heart skips a beat. She closes her eyes, but Kim manages it. He skillfully steers the car, and they fly out onto the next street without slowing down. He checks the mirror again. His goal is to check if the black car has fallen behind. Chan sees the taxi accelerate sharply. He sees this dangerous maneuver on a slippery turn. His insides turn cold. He understands. They've noticed him. They're afraid. They're trying to escape. This is stupid. He didn't want to scare them. He doesn't know what he wanted. To be close. To smell that scent again. To explain something he doesn't even understand. But now he looks like a stalker, like a threat. His actions backfired. He pushed her even further away. Now she definitely won't stop willingly. He clenches his jaw. He watches the yellow taxi straighten out after the turn and accelerate again. They want to get away from him. They will try to do it again and again. He can't let this happen. If he stops now, he'll lose her forever. That scent, that image, it'll all disappear. And all that'll remain is the feeling that he's missed something so important. He can't allow this. "Faster," he says to the driver, his voice steely. "They're trying to get away. Keep up." His car, more powerful and stable, picks up speed easily. It closes the gap lost on the turn. Chan keeps his eyes on the taxi. His initial confusion fades. His face becomes a stony mask of determination. He scared her. It was a mistake. But now the only way to fix it is to catch up with her. Explain. Tell her the truth, no matter how strange it may be. He has to do it. He won't stop. Two cars race through the city at night. The yellow taxi abruptly changes lanes, trying to escape. The black car follows suit a second later. The tires crunch through the wet snow, scattering muddy slush onto the oncoming lane. Keen's taxi weaves through the streets. He turns into narrow alleys, barely wide enough for two cars to pass. He runs a red light at an empty intersection. But the black car is always right there. It doesn't fall behind. It's more powerful and faster. The distance between them widens on turns, then closes again on straights. Leah pressed herself into her seat. She looked out the side window. The lights from the street lamps and signs merged into long, glowing stripes. She didn't know where they were. She only saw the snow outside and the dark car following them like a shadow. Her heart was pounding somewhere in her throat. Chan realizes the taxi driver knows the city well. He's trying to cover his tracks, but Chan's car has more power. On a long, straight stretch of embankment, he gives the driver a command. "Get level with them," he says. His driver nods silently. The black car accelerates smoothly but quickly. It changes lanes, and within seconds, is perfectly parallel to the yellow taxi. Chan peers through the window into the backseat of the taxi. He sees the tinted glass, but he knows she's there. He rolls down his window. Icy air rushes in. He makes a hand gesture that any driver understands. Roll down the window. Then he makes a stop sign, palm out. His face is serious, but there's no anger in it. He just wants them to hear him. Kim sees the gesture. He sees the man in the car next to him. He looks rich and dangerous. but there's no direct threat in his gestures. He's not trying to cut them off or force them off the road. He just wants to talk. Kim hesitates. He looks at Leah. She stares at the black car with wide eyes. She's terrified. What should I do? Kim asks. He wants us to stop. Don't stop, Leah whispers. Please! Kim looks at the man. He makes the roll down the window gesture again. The decision comes instantly. They can't keep speeding through the city like this forever. It's dangerous. He rolls down his window just a few centimeters. Enough to hear, but not enough to fit anything inside. Cold air and road noise rush into the taxi. Who are you? Kim shouts through the narrow gap. His voice is sharp and loud, trying to be heard over the noise of the engines. What do you want? Stop this immediately! Chan sees the window roll down. He sees the driver's frightened face. He doesn't see her, but he hears the question. He leans closer to his open window. The frosty wind hits his face. Your passenger! He shouts back, his words escaping in clouds of steam. The girl in the back seat! Kim glances quickly at Leah. She curls into a ball. What's wrong with her? Kim shouts back. She smells incredible, Kim hears in response. The man's voice sounds strange. There's desperation and obsession in it. Her perfume. I need to talk to her. Just talk. A brief, deafening silence falls over the taxi. The street noise seems to fade. Leah heard every word. She slowly shifts her gaze from the driver to the black car. Her mind refuses to comprehend. Kim blinks. He expected anything. Threats, extortion, revenge, but not this. What? He blurts out. The words hang in the frosty air between the two cars. Kim asks again, not believing his ears. What? Zhang screams again, his voice strained by the speed and wind. Her scent. I smelled it on the street. I need to talk to her. Just talk and get to know her. I won't hurt her. His explanation sounds absurd, ridiculous, but there's no lie in his tone. There's only a persistent, raw obsession. Leah hears every word. At first, they don't make sense. Pursuit, pursuit, screams, and all because of a scent? Her perfume? Shock paralyzes her. This isn't an attack. This isn't a robbery. This isn't revenge for some old grudge. This is something else, something completely irrational. A man chased her on a slippery winter road, risking his life because she liked her scent. This is madness. But there's a strange, twisted compliment in this madness. This has never happened to her before. The fear begins to recede, giving way to stunned bewilderment. Kim looks at Leah through the mirror. His face is one of utter confusion. He, too, is trying to process what he's heard. It's either the honest truth or a very painful lie. But the black car doesn't make any aggressive moves. It simply drives alongside, waiting for a response. He has a decision to make. He's the driver, and his passenger is in danger, real or imagined. He addresses her, his voice softer but still tense. Girl, Kim says, you heard him. He wants to talk. Just talk. Do you agree? It's up to you. If you say no, I'll try to leave anyway. If you say yes, we can stop. He hands over complete control to her. Leah freezes. The entire world narrows to this choice in a moving car, under the gaze of a stranger from the window of a black car. Leah looks out the taxi window. She's looking straight at the man in the car next to her. Their gazes meet across the two windows and into the frosty void between the cars. She sees his face. It's tense. There's no smile, but she searches for and finds no malice or cruelty. Instead, she sees something else. A haunting, irrepressible sincerity. His eyes are wide open, filled with impatience and something dangerous in his persistence, but seemingly not physically dangerous. She glances at the driver. He's waiting. Her word will determine whether this frantic race will continue. Leah takes a deep breath. She's still afraid. This is stupid. This could be a mistake. But if she says no, this evening will turn into a nightmare of endless running, and if she says yes, at least it will become clear what he really wants. Curiosity and fatigue from fear take over. She nods slowly, first to herself, then to the driver. Okay, she says, her voice quiet but firm. Let's stop. Let's talk. Kim looks at her doubtfully, but he respects her decision. Are you sure? He asks one last time. Yes. Kim nods. He looks at the man in the black car and makes a quick gesture with his hand. Follow us. We'll stop. He doesn't want to stop right there on this road. Chan sees the gesture. A wave of relief almost knocks him off his feet. She's agreed. He immediately signals his driver to follow the taxi. Taxi driver Kim slows down. He's looking for a suitable spot. He turns off the main road onto a quiet side street. There are only a few parked cars and high snowdrifts along the sidewalks. He pulls smoothly up to the curb and stops. He turns off the engine. A black car stops right behind him, keeping a few meters behind. Silence falls, sharp and deafening after the roar of engines and the noise of the race. Snow falls softly on the windshields. There's complete silence in the taxi. Leah looks at the black car's taillights in the mirror. She doesn't move. Her hands are still shaking. She's waiting to see what happens next. She just agreed to talk to the man who had just stalked her all over the city. The reality of what's happening hits her with renewed vigor. Chan sits in his car for a few seconds. He looks at the yellow taxi. Now that his goal has been achieved, he's overcome by a strange hesitation. What should he say? Where should he begin? He suddenly realizes the sheer madness of his behavior, but it's too late to back out. He opens the door and steps out onto the cold street. The snow crunches beneath his expensive boots. He takes the first step toward the taxi, toward the girl inside, toward the scent that brought him here. The door of the black car opens. Chan steps out. He's tall, wearing a dark, expensive coat that fits him perfectly. Even in the dim light of the side street, it's clear he's a man from another world, a world of power and money. His movements are calm and confident. But when he closes the car door, his gestures are reserved. He doesn't make any sudden movements. He doesn't approach quickly. He gives her time to study him. He stands next to his car for a second, collecting his thoughts. Then he takes a few steps forward. He stops about 2 meters from the taxi, a respectful distance away. He looks at the tinted rear windows. He knows she's looking at him. Kim watches his every move in the taxi. He sees Jong approaching. He doesn't roll down the window. He waits. Chan understands this. He sees the driver waiting for him to make the first move. He takes another small step forward. He clearly sees his reflection in the dark glass. He doesn't see her. He leans in slightly to be heard better through the glass. His voice, when he begins to speak, is quiet and a little hoarse with effort. There is no command or threat in it, only embarrassment and sincerity. "Forgive me," he says, the words coming out on a cloud of steam. "Forgive me for that chase. It was thoughtless, dangerous." He pauses, collecting his thoughts. "Your perfume, outside. When you passed, it mingled with the frosty air." He searches for words that wouldn't sound so crazy, but finds only the truth. "Something clicked inside me. I couldn't just let you go. I had to find you. Just to, I don't even know, to smell that scent again. It sounds crazy." The taxi is quiet. Leah listens, holding her breath. She hears his voice. It sounds normal, tired and confused. Jong continues, looking at his reflection in the glass, as if talking to himself. "It was an impulse, beyond my control. Only on your desire. If you ask me to leave, I will leave. Right now. I will get in the car and leave. You will never see me again. I give you my word." He falls silent. His explanation is finished. He has said all he can. Now he simply waits. He stands on the cold street, under the falling snow, and waits for her decision. The man's words hang in the chill air. "You are safe." He pronounces it clearly, like a vow. He doesn't try to move closer. He simply stands and waits. His posture is erect, but not proud. He looks like a man accustomed to giving orders, but now he surrenders all power to her. Leah sits in the taxi and looks at him through the window. She analyzes his face, his words, his behavior. He's not lying. She's almost certain of it. There are things you can't fake, and the tone of his voice is one of them. There's relief in it that the chase is over, and a quiet, almost childish embarrassment at his own actions. Kim's driver turns to her. "So?" he asks quietly. "Decide. I can still just leave." He said he would. Leah looks at the man. He's motionless. Snowflakes slowly settle on the shoulders of his dark coat. He's not rushing her. He's giving her time. And there's something respectful about that, too. "If you don't want this, I'll leave." A simple offer, a promise that sounds completely sincere. The fear hasn't completely gone away. A voice of reason whispers that this could still be a trap, some kind of elaborate game. But another, quieter voice says that some things are too strange to be a game. That's not how it works. She looks at his face. She searches for even a drop of malice, triumph, or cunning. She finds only anticipation, and that same haunting sincerity that struck her back in the car. No one had ever done this to her. No one had chased her across town. No one had ever apologized so sheepishly and directly. No one had ever put themselves in such a stupid and vulnerable position because of her, because of the smell. It's insane. It's terrifying, but it's also captivating. There's a strange, twisted romance to it. Dangerous and absurd, but no less powerful. Curiosity begins to outweigh caution. It pushes her forward. She wants to look him in the eye from close range. She wants to ask, to understand. She wants to solve this strange mystery at the center of which she finds herself. She nods, more to herself than to anyone else. "I'll get out," she tells the driver. Kim frowns. "Are you sure? I can stay here. Thank you." But everything seems fine. She doesn't even believe her own words, but her hand is already reaching for the door handle. She presses it. The taxi door opens with a soft click, breaking the silence of the street. Cold air rushes in, and she takes her first step out. Her legs tremble slightly as she steps onto the snow-covered asphalt. She adjusts her coat and closes the door. The sound seems incredibly loud to her, Chan notices movement and slowly turns his head. He watches her exit. He doesn't take a single step toward her. He lets her close the door, step away from the car, feel the ground beneath her feet. He gives her space. To me, now they stand facing each other. She's by the taxi. He's 2 meters away, by his car. Between them is a thin curtain of falling snow and an invisible wall of awkwardness and the improbability of what's happening. Leah takes a small step forward. She's no longer protected by metal and glass. She's completely exposed. She looks at him. Up close, he looks even more imposing and tired. His eyes study her face intently, and then it happens again. A gentle gust of wind blows from her toward him. The frosty air carries with it a subtle, yet utterly recognizable trail. That one, greenery, crisp and sharp, and immediately behind it, a deep, enveloping wave of warm amber. Mixed with the cold, the scent sounds even purer, even more mysterious. Zhang freezes. His eyes close for a moment. An involuntary deep breath. His face changes. The tension in his shoulders eases, as if he'd been hit with something soft and heavy. It's here again, that same scent. He wasn't mistaken. He didn't imagine it. It's real, and it's here now, emanating from this girl who looks at him with a mixture of fear and curiosity. He opens his eyes. His gaze is now clear, almost transparent with relief. There, he exhales quietly. There it is. Leah sees his reaction. She sees his face transform at the scent. This isn't an act. This is a pure, genuine, physiological reaction. He's truly gone crazy over her perfume. This thought completely knocks the wind out of her fear. It's simply absurd. She stands and watches this powerful, dangerous man standing in the middle of the deserted street, almost trembling from the scent of her cheap perfume, bought on sale last month. The corners of her lips twitched involuntarily, but a smile wouldn't form. Too much adrenaline, too many surprises. They stand in silence for a few seconds. Snow falls between them. She waits for him to speak, now that he's found what he was looking for. He seems to be simply enjoying the moment, having finally achieved his insane goal. He's here again, within this fragrant field, and now everything depends on what she says next. She watches his reaction. She sees his face soften at the familiar scent. Still not quite believing it, she asks the question that's been on the tip of her tongue since he shouted it through the car window. That's it? Her voice is quiet in the winter silence. Just because of the smell? You did this. This whole race took the risk? Just because you like the smell of perfume? There's no mockery in her tone, only pure, unadulterated surprise. She says it out loud, and it sounds ridiculous again, like a scene from a bad movie. But it's happening to her here and now, on a deserted street, and the man in front of her looks completely serious. Chan slowly opens his eyes. He looks at her. Now that the initial shock of the chase has passed, and the scent is back with him, he can find more precise words. No, he says calmly. Not just because of the smell itself. He pauses, choosing his words. His gaze drifts somewhere over her shoulder, as if he's reliving that moment on the sidewalk. Because of the image it created. An instant image. You were a silhouette in the snow, dark and fast. And that scent, it was the complete opposite. Complex, warm, alive. It didn't match the image. It exploded it. He looks back at her. It smelled like it could change your whole day, turn it upside down, and it did. He says it simply, without pathos, as a statement of fact. He doesn't try to sound poetic. He's simply explaining what was going through his head at that moment. It was a feeling of dissonance and promise at the same time, a silhouette that promised only coldness, but left behind a trail of warmth and complexity. Leah listens. She sees how he struggles to find the right words. She sees that he's uncomfortable, but he wants to be understood. His explanation is strange, but it comes from the heart. It's not a rehearsed speech. It's an attempt to convey to her the spark of the madness that has come over him. He smelled like he could change your whole day. These words touch something inside her. Maybe because her day, her evening, they really have changed, turned upside down. And now she stands here, shivering from the cold and the last of the adrenaline, listening to a stranger talk to her about smells and images. The fear finally recedes. All that remains is the strangeness of the situation and a budding curiosity about this man. His obsession was frightening, but his sincerity is now disarming. The corners of her lips twitched involuntarily. It wasn't a smile yet, just a shadow of one, a skeleton. But her eyes softened. The tension gripping her shoulders eased a little. You realize this sounds a little crazy? She says. And for the first time, a hint of something other than fear appears in her voice. A faint, barely perceptible thread of irony or acceptance. Chan sees the change in her face. He sees the shadow of a smile touch her lips. He feels a weight lift from his soul. She doesn't scream. She doesn't run away. She's still here, and she's asking. Yes, he nods, and something like a tired smile flickers in his eyes. I understand that, completely, but that doesn't change what happened. They stand and look at each other. The frantic pace of the chase has given way to this motionless, snow-covered pause. The ice of fear and mistrust that had frozen everything from the very beginning has shown its first crack. Crazy, inexplicable, but made. She turns to the taxi. Driver Kim is watching them through the windshield, his face a wary, confused expression. She goes to the front window. Kim rolls down the glass. Everything okay? He asks first, his gaze quickly sliding from her to the motionless figure standing there, to Chan and back. Yes, I think so, Leah replies, and there's genuine relief in her voice. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to me, for trying to leave, for staying. She opens her bag and takes out her wallet. She takes out a sum several times greater than the amount shown on the counter and hands it to Kim. Please, take this. And I'm sorry for the stress. I didn't expect this myself. Kim looks at the money, then back at her. He slowly takes the bills. Are you sure you'll be safe? He asks one last time, lowering his voice. I can stay, follow you from a distance. No one will know. This concern touches her. She shakes her head and for the first time smiles truly, albeit weakly. No, everything's fine. He's strange, but not dangerous, I think. Thank you again. Kim looks at her, then casts an appraising glance at Jong, who continues to stand at a respectful distance, not interfering with their conversation. This gesture, non-interference, probably convinces him most of all. Okay, Kim sighs. Take care. Good luck. He rolls up the window and starts the engine. He nods at her through the glass again. The yellow taxi pulls smoothly away, its tires crunching softly on the snow. It slowly pulls away, reaches the corner, turns, and disappears from view. The red taillights dissolve into the white shroud of falling snow. Chan signals his driver. The black car quietly starts, turns around, and drives off in the opposite direction, disappearing into the night as silently as it arrived. Now they are completely alone. A quiet side street, blank walls of houses, snow-covered roofs of cars, and silence, so complete that you can hear the snowflakes falling and the beating of two hearts, one still rapid from the fear it had endured, the other still quickened by a strange, achieved relief. Leah stands in one place, turning around, looking in the direction the taxi disappeared. Her connection to the world of an ordinary, safe evening is severed. She remains here, in this snowy bubble, with this stranger. She turns to him. He is still standing there. The space between them, empty and white, now seems vast, and at the same time infinitely small. There's a city around them, but it doesn't exist. There's only this street, this snowfall, and two people brought together by the most absurd reason possible. Now that they were alone, there was no need to shout over the noise of the engines or speak through the car window. The silence begged to be filled, but what could they say after all this? Chan is the first to break the silence. He takes one small, cautious step forward, closing the distance just enough to avoid raising his voice. He doesn't extend his hand for a handshake. That would be too formal, almost sacrilegious after the wild chase. My name is Jung, he says simply. His voice sounds deeper and softer in the silence than when he shouted from the car. There's something naked in this performance. He gives her his name, the simplest thing he has, after taking away her sense of safety. Leah looks at him. Chan. Brief. No title, no last name, just a first name. She nods, accepting it. Leah, she replies. Her own name sounds strange in the cold air, as if she's imagining herself anew. Not the Leah who ran to the taxi, but the one who stands here now, making this inexplicable choice. Leah, he repeats. He says her name slowly, as if tasting it, comparing it to the image and scent that haunted him. He seems to like it. It fits. There's another pause, but it's not as tense. You were very scared, he says. It's not a question. It's a statement. There's confusion in his voice again, and that same genuine annoyance. Yes, she admits honestly. I didn't know what to think. The best case scenarios seemed bad. I'm sorry, he says again. The word seems hard for him, but he says it. I would like to have started this differently, she shrugs, the movement finally relaxing a little. It would be hard to imagine a more effective way, she remarks, the same weak, tired irony slipping back into her tone as before. The corners of his lips twitched, almost a smile, I guess. He looked around at the snowy street. It's very cold here, and I need to apologize again. I don't have a proper explanation. Just what I already said. That's enough for now, Leah says quietly, because it's true. Explanations are lacking, but continuing to stand in the cold and demand them is pointless. Curiosity is still strong. What are we doing now, Chan? He meets her gaze. Now that the chase is over and names have been named, the most fundamental and uncomfortable question arises. What next? Their story, tangled like a ball of yarn the moment she passed by, now lies between them, and the first step toward unraveling it has just been taken. Slowly, Very carefully, he begins to tug at the first thread. Their next meeting is scheduled for a quiet cafe on the outskirts of the city. John arrives first. He sits at a table by the window, looking out at the falling snow. His fingers drum on the tabletop. He's not nervous in the usual sense, but there's a strange tension inside. He still can't believe that the very girl he's been chasing all over Seoul is about to come here voluntarily. Leah appears precisely on time. She enters, shaking the snow from her shoulders, and looks around. He raises his hand, and she notices him. A small, still hesitant smile lights up her face. She approaches, takes off her coat, and sits down opposite him. The first few minutes pass in awkward small talk. How did you get here? Is it cold outside? Thank you for coming. The coffee arrives, giving them something to do with their hands. I kept thinking about that day, Jong finally says, putting down his cup. He looks not at her, but at his drink. About that smell. I didn't even ask what kind of perfume it was. I'm afraid my behavior has discouraged anyone from sharing such details. Leah shakes her head. Now, in a calm environment, she looks different. Not scared, but rather thoughtful. It's not exactly perfume off the shelf, she begins carefully. She plays with the handle of her mug. I created it. Chan slowly looks up at her. There's confusion in his eyes. Created it? Yes. I create fragrances. I'm a perfumer. Or rather, I'm still learning, working in a small studio and making things for myself. That scent, it was my experiment. A mixture I put together for myself that evening. I was testing it. He freezes. The information processes in his head. All this chaos, this entire chase, because of an experimental, homemade scent? The thought simultaneously makes the story even more absurd and gives it a strange, almost mystical depth. You created this? He asks again, his voice filled with genuine amazement. That smell, the greenery, the cold, and then the warmth. You collected all of this? She nods, and a sparkle lights up in her eyes, the same one you get when you talk about your life's work. Yes, I was trying to capture the moment, the transition, the first frost, when you still remember the smell of autumn grass, but you already sense something different, deep, like a promise of warmth somewhere inside, even if it's cold outside. It's hard to explain. You explained it, Chan says quietly. That's exactly what I felt. Only, I didn't know what to call it. For me, it was just a shock. They fall silent. The barrier of awkwardness between them begins to melt, like snow outside the window. The conversation shifts to her work. She talks about essential oils, notes, how scents form chords. He listens with unusual attention. His world is numbers, power, quiet threats. Hers is made up of scents, images, and subtle emotions. It's so far removed from everything he knows. So it was a unique scent? He asks later, as they order more coffee. In a sense, I had the exact same mixture left. I didn't pour it out. After that evening, it became associated with something too intense. Chan looks at her, and a strange expression appears on his face. A mixture of regret and that very same obsession. Too bad, he says simply. They talk for about another hour. About themselves, about life, about coincidences. He's careful with details, but honest with his emotions. She's more open, but also doesn't spill everything at once. It's a dance between two people still trying to figure out what connects them. As the meeting draws to a close and they prepare to leave, Leah pauses. She rummages through her large bag and pulls out a small, carefully wrapped object. Here, she says, handing him the package. Her cheeks flush slightly. This, I didn't plan it, but after our conversation, I thought. Chan slowly takes the package. He unfolds the paper. Inside lies a small dark glass bottle, unlabeled. It's filled with an amber liquid. He looks at the bottle, then at her. The question freezes in his eyes. Is this for me? Yes. I created it last week. She looks away, slightly embarrassed. I couldn't get that evening out of my head. And our conversation today, I thought about what you said, about the image, about the dissonance. I tried to create something that could convey that. Not a copy of that scent, but an echo of it. But different, more conscious. This is for you. Jong freezes. He's holding more than just perfume. He's holding a piece of her world, her talent, her perception of him, that crazy, obsessive stranger on the street. He carefully unscrews the cap. He doesn't spray. He simply brings the bottle to his nose, and his world narrows down to a point again. The scent hits him. It's familiar, and yet completely new. There's that same cold, blade-like green, but it doesn't cut. It envelops. There's the warmth of amber, but it doesn't overwhelm. It sounds like a quiet, confident bass. And between them, a new note, something mineral, pure as ice, yet warm, like flint striking a spark. It's the scent of tension, about to be resolved. The scent of silence after a scream, peace after a storm. The scent of that very moment when he stands before her on the deserted street. And it's only just beginning. He can't utter a word. He just stands there, eyes closed, inhaling the scent created especially for him, for his madness, for his obsession. She didn't reject it. She turned it into art. Leah, he finally says, his voice hoarse. He opens his eyes. This is incredible. She watches his reaction, and her confusion gives way to relief, and then to quiet joy. Do you like it? It's more than like, he says honestly. He looks at the bottle again, as if it were the most precious thing he's ever owned. Thank you. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything, she smiles. And this time it's wide and genuine. Just wear it, whenever you want. He nods, still unable to tear himself away from the bottle. Then, carefully, almost reverently, he screws the cap back on and places the bottle in his inside jacket pocket, right next to his heart. They walk outside together. It's still snowing. He walks her to the taxi, but this time it's different. No chase, no fear, just two people in the snow. Can I call you? He asks before she closes the door. Yes, she replies. Call me. The taxi drives away. Chan stands on the sidewalk. His hand instinctively reaches for his pocket, where the bottle lies. He feels it through the fabric. He doesn't inhale the scent again. He simply knows it's there, that it exists, that it was made for him. He turns and walks toward his car. His steps are slow and steady. A storm of emotions rages within him, but his face is calm. He had found more than just a scent. He had found the one who created it, and that someone had given him an entire world, packaged in a small glass bottle. Their story, which began with a wild chase, had now taken a new, unexpected turn, and he felt like this was only the beginning. That bottle becomes his secret. Zhang doesn't use it right away. He keeps it in his desk drawer, next to the documents that decide the fates of people and businesses. Sometimes, in the middle of a tense conversation, or while studying a dry report, his hand automatically reaches for the drawer. He opens it without removing the bottle, simply touching the glass with his fingers. The cool smoothness takes him back to that snowy street. The scent doesn't escape from the bottle, but he knows it's there. This knowledge acts as a calming anchor. He calls her 3 days later, not because he'd chosen a deliberate pause, but because he was afraid of seeming intrusive again. His voice on the phone sounds a little tense. He suggests meeting again, not at a cafe, but just for a walk. If you're not afraid, of course, he adds, and his tone carries that same tired irony she's already begun to recognize. They meet in a large city park, which in winter turns into a white, almost deserted expanse. Snow crunches underfoot, and their breath turns to steam. They walk side by side, and at first, conversation is difficult. The shadow of that first meeting still hangs between them. But then Leah asks, "Have you tried it?" She means the perfume. Zhang shakes his head. "No, I carry it with me, but I haven't used it. I think I'm afraid that when I apply it, something will change, set in. Or on the contrary, evaporate." She looks at him in surprise, then nods understandingly. "Are you afraid reality will disappoint? That it's just perfume and not magic?" He shrugs. "Perhaps. Or maybe I'm afraid the magic will work too well." They pass a frozen fountain. "Scent isn't a frozen spell," she says quietly. "It's alive. It interacts with your skin, with your body heat, with your mood. The one in the bottle and the one on you are two related, yet different scents. It will change with you. Don't be afraid." Her words sound like permission, like an invitation. The next morning, getting ready for an important, unpleasant meeting, Jiang stands in front of the mirror. His reflection is an impeccable suit, a composed face, a gaze that leaves no room for doubt. His hand rests on the bottle in his jacket pocket. He remembers her words. He will change with you. He takes out the bottle. With one precise motion, he applies a drop to the base of his neck, to the inside of his wrist. At first, almost nothing, a slight chill of alcohol. Then, when he puts on his coat and steps outside, the frosty air, just like that first time, becomes a catalyst. The scent awakens. It follows him, an invisible companion, a cool, pure note, like a blade striking ice, cuts through the familiar aura of expensive soap and purity. It invigorates, clears the mind. Then, when he gets into the car, and the warmth of the cabin envelops him, his heart begins to open. That same warmth, that same amber. But now it smells not just of wood, but of wine, aged in oak barrels. Dark honey, the deep silence of a library late at night, and that same new mineral note. It now feels like a quiet, unshakable confidence, a strength that doesn't shout about itself. At the meeting, he notices strange things. His opponent, tough and unyielding, suddenly loses his aggression mid-negotiation and looks at him thoughtfully. Chung himself feels an unusual clarity. He listens not only to the words, but also to the intonations, seeing the hidden fears behind the feigned bravado. He makes a decision that seems illogical from the standpoint of immediate gain, but strategically flawless. And when he stands to end the conversation, his opponent, shaking his hand, suddenly says, "It's been an unusual pleasure doing business with you today." All day, the scent lives its own life on his skin. By evening, almost nothing remains of the cold mineral beginning, only a soft, warm, almost leathery trail, mingling with his own scent. It becomes something personal, intimate, a trace that belongs only to him, but was created by her. He writes to her in the evening, briefly, "You were right. He's alive. And he changed my day." A minute later, a reply comes. "Will you tell me tomorrow? Over coffee?" Their meetings become ritual, once or twice a week. They talk about everything and nothing. He tells her about the world of business, in increasingly inventive metaphors, trying not to immerse her in daunting details. She tells him about smells, about the first spring rain on asphalt, about the smell of old paper and printing ink, about the smell of cold metal and ozone after thunder. He listens, fascinated. Her world of feelings turns out to be more complex and subtle than any corporate balance sheet. One day, she brings him a small box with several blind test tubes. "A game," she says. "Guess what's in here?" He brings each tube to his nose and closes his eyes. The first is sweet, powdery, too soft. "No," he says. "It's not yours." The second is sharp, chemical. He winces. The third, there's depth to it, but something false, like an expensive fake. He describes the sensations, embarrassed by his incompetence. She laughs, and her laughter rings like glass. She explains that the first is mass market, sweet death, as she calls it. The second is a colleague's failed experiment. The third is an expensive niche perfume that tries to seem profound, but has no soul. "How did you figure that out?" she asks, looking at him with interest. "I compared it to what's in you," he answers honestly. "It's like hearing a false note after a pure sound." That evening, he walks her home. She lives in a small, cozy apartment in a neighborhood unlike his sterile neighborhoods. They stop at the entrance. The snow swirls again in the streetlight. "Thank you for playing," he says. "Thank you for playing," she smiles. He wants to say something, to ask if he can come up, but the words catch in his throat. Instead, he says, "That scent, my scent, it's ending." She looks at him, and understanding flickers in her eyes. Everything ends, especially good things. "Can I do it again?" His question sounds almost like a plea. He hates this weakness in his voice, but he can't control it. Leah looks at him for a long moment. Then she shakes her head. "No, Chan, you can't step into the same river twice. That one was created in a moment. From my fear, your madness, the first snow. It can't be repeated." He feels something tighten inside him. Loss. But she continues. "But you can create a new one. A different one. A scent for the next chapter." She turns and walks into the entryway, leaving him alone in the snowfall with this new, stunning thought. A scent for the next chapter. So there will be a next chapter. She's already thinking about it. She's already creating it in her head. He walks to his car, his steps light. He takes out the nearly empty bottle and, almost fading, touches it to his lips one last time. Not a farewell, gratitude. Then he looks at the light in the third-floor window that has just come on. He knows it's her window. And he knows that their story, which began with a mad pursuit of a fleeting scent, is now slowly, irreversibly, transforming into something else, something that smells not of frost and despair, but of quiet anticipation and warmth, born not on the street, but within. And he is ready to wait for this new chapter. For as long as it takes, Chan stands beneath her window longer than he should. The light on the third floor burns a perfect yellow square, a shadow flickering behind the curtain. He imagines her entering the apartment, taking off her coat, perhaps approaching the window. He doesn't move, letting the snow cover his shoulders, as if this slight discomfort is part of his atonement. Finally, he steps back into the darkness and drives away. He doesn't turn on the music in the car. The silence is filled with the echo of her words, sent for the next chapter. He doesn't write to her the next day, or the next. It's a new form of patience, conscious and difficult. He trains himself to think that their meetings are not a given, but a gift, and that the next chapter is not being written by him alone. He works, holds meetings, gives orders, but part of his attention is always diverted to the side, to the world of sense and quiet revelations. 5 days later, a message from her arrives. Not words, but a photograph. It shows his nearly empty bottle, standing against the backdrop of a disassembled perfume organ, dozens of small bottles, pipettes, white sheets of paper with notes. The caption, "Work has begun." He stares at the photograph for a long moment, zooming in, taking in the details of her desk. He can see oil stains, a worn notebook, the edge of a pencil. It's more intimate than any selfie. It's a glimpse into her inner sanctum. His response is brief. "Take your time. Let it mature." He wants to add, "like us," but erases it. It's too early. Their next meeting occurs spontaneously. He spots her in the crowd on the street outside her studio. She's carrying a heavy box containing some glass flasks. His body reacts faster than his mind. He parks, gets out, and catches up with her within a few steps. "Allow me," he says, gently taking the box from her hands before she can react with surprise. "Chan, how did you get here?" "Driving past," he says, his lips curling slightly. It's a half-truth. He's been driving past these parts more often. "Where should I take it?" She points to the next building. They walk side by side. The box smells of cedar and something bitter. New components? He asks. She nods, looking for that perfect chord, the basis for a new chapter. So far, everything that comes out is either too beautiful or too sad. What should it be like? He holds the heavy glass door open, letting her go ahead. She thinks, walking up the stairs ahead of him, sincere, unadorned, but not heavy either, like an honest conversation in the early morning, when it's still dark, but no longer scary. He carries the box all the way to her studio, a small room lined with shelves, the air thick with 1,000 intertwining scents. It smells of life in its most concentrated form. He sets the box on this table, his gaze falling on a nearby notebook of sketches, handwritten among chemical formulas and note names, cold steel and warm skin, trust. Silence between words. He looks away, as if he's seen something too personal. She follows his gaze and blushes slightly, covering the notepad with her hand. These are just work notes. I know, he says. And then, more seriously, he adds, that's a good thing. They stand amid the scents, and the tension between them changes its nature. It's no longer from fear or awkwardness. It's from proximity to the creative process, to the core of her being. He feels like he's been allowed behind the scenes. I'm in the way, he says, taking a step toward the exit. No, she stops him. You're not. Shall we have some tea? For your heroic help with the box. The tea turns out to be herbal, scented with ginger and honey. They sit on 2 simple stools amid the chaos of creativity. She shows him the basics. This is how the oils are mixed. This is how you sniff. From a distance, then closer. This is how the aroma unfolds on a blotter. A strip of paper. He tastes it, frowning in concentration. He's not very good at it, unable to discern the subtle differences, but his diligence touches her. You know, he says suddenly, putting down the bottle of patchouli, the scent of which he found too earthy and rough. My world used to be very tactile-ese. You could touch it, weigh it, evaluate it. A contract, a building, a person. Everything had a clear weight and value. Your world, it's illusory. You can't grasp it. But for some reason, it seems more real to me now. She looks at him, wrapped in a large sweater, holding a cup. Maybe because it can't be faked? A scent is either real or it isn't. You can't sign it and put it in a safe. It's either there or it isn't. He nods. It resonates with something deep within him. His world is full of fakes, masks, simulacra. Here, in this room, only the truth resonates, no matter how bitter, sweet, or strange it may be. When he leaves, she doesn't walk him to the door. She remains seated among her bottles, lost in thought. He, however, once outside, breathes in the cold air, which feels empty and insipid after the thick atmosphere of the studio. His own skin, his scarf, retain traces of her world for several hours. Traces of sandalwood, something floral, a fleeting, bitter hint of black pepper. A week passes, no messages. He learns to wait, without staring at the phone. He even applies the last drops of his old scent, not as a plea, but as gratitude, as a farewell to that chapter. And then, late in the evening, when he's already getting ready for bed, she calls. Not a message, but a call. Her voice on the phone sounds worried and tired. Chan, can you come? Not tomorrow. Now. Did something happen? His body instantly tenses, his mind immediately conjuring up alarming pictures. No, everything is fine. It's just, I need a nose. My own is already deceiving me, and I can't wait until the morning. He drives through the city at night, breaking all his own rules and schedules. He doesn't even ask why him, why his nose. He just drives. She opens the studio door. She's wearing old jeans and a t-shirt, her hair pulled back into a messy bun, and there are shadows under her eyes from fatigue, but her eyes are shining. Sorry for the hour, she says, leading him inside without preamble. 3 identical, unmarked bottles sit on the table in front of the organ. I made 3 versions of the foundation. I can no longer tell them apart. I need a fresh, pure look, the most honest one. Just tell me which one resonates. He understands. He is a test, not an expert, but a humming string that must respond to the right chord. It is an act of immense trust. He silently approaches the table. He takes the first strip and brings it to his nose. He inhales. The scent is pleasant, but safe. Something like expensive cologne. He puts it aside. The second, there's a sharpness here, a challenge, but it seems ostentatious, deliberate. He shakes his head. The third blotter, he brings it to his face and freezes. At first, almost nothing, just purity, like mountain air. Then, a second later, a barely perceptible shimmer of something metallic, cold, not unpleasant, just clear as a blade. And from this clarity, slowly, deliberately, warmth begins to rise. Not sweet, not lulling, hard, like a stone warmed by the sun. There is silence and immense space in it. There is no attempt to please in this scent. There is only fact, harsh and beautiful in its truth, like her. And strangely, like what he himself wants to be. He opens his eyes. He doesn't know how much time has passed. This one. His voice is hoarse. He hands her the third strip, without a doubt. She takes the strip, brings it to her nose, inhales for a long time. Then she looks at him, and there are tears of fatigue and something else in her eyes. Are you sure? Yes. She puts the strip down, sits down on the stool, and covers her face with her hands. Her shoulders shake slightly. He panics. Did he do something wrong? Leah? I'm so tired, she says through her fingers. I've been looking for it for 2 weeks. I've tried hundreds of combinations. And you just pointed it out in 3 minutes. He approaches cautiously, placing his hand on her shoulder. It's their first conscious touch outside the extreme circumstances of a chase or helping with a box. I didn't find it. I just recognized it, he says quietly. She lifts her face to him, tired, blurred, defenseless, and the most beautiful thing he's seen. Recognized? Yes. How one recognizes the truth. One doesn't find it. One simply sees it. They look at each other in the dim light of a desk lamp at the center of a universe made of sense. The new chapter has not yet been written, but its first, most important word has just been spoken, and that word was trust.